and it's probably worth noting. I think one of the biggest advantages that Derry got in Division Two was their physical conditioning. Now every dog in the street knew the training Derry were doing. When teams probably maybe weren't meant to be training, like they were training hard, and everyone would
Really?
tell you, listen, sure, look, everybody, every dog in the street knew it, and look, every county was doing something, of some capacity, but they were training hard, and they were training smaller pods and stuff like that. And listen, look, they made a lot of gains, in my opinion. They definitely made a lot of gains in around about 2019, or sorry, in around about 2020, 2021.
Okay.
Physically, their physical conditioning in Division Two,
Yeah.
was on a level above anything else. And I think that's where Dublin had a massive advantage over a lot of teams. I said this a couple of years ago when I did an article for the All Ireland semi-final program. One of the biggest differences I noticed from coaching with smaller counties against bigger counties was the
Yeah.
level of gap between the physical condition, because then it's a 10-year process. It's an 8
Yeah.
to 10-year process that starts at development squad level. Like I remember at Roscommon, speaking to Brian Carroll, the chairman at the time, and talking about what they're looking for to, at Roscommon from a longevity point of view. They need a conveyor belt of under 20s and minors coming through who are, one, technically good, two, physically ready, and three, have the psychological capabilities to step up and play senior football, because Kerry, Dublin, etc., will keep churning them out. They will
Yeah.
keep churning them out. But for counties like Roscommon, who are maybe in that second bracket, Derry, Monaghan, they need that consistency and it's so important, that physical condition. And that's where the role of athletic performance coach in a lot of these counties is vitally important. And it's probably one of the most important roles now in modern day Gaelic games. You look at Limerick hurlers,
Yeah.
mother of God, look at the physical conditioning of them. They are ahead of the pack. But what will happen there now is these other counties will realise, right, how do we gain on Limerick? Yes, you've got your games-based scenario coaching from Paul Kinnerk that's very hard to replicate, because he's at the top of his game. He understands, the whole theory around games-based thinking and etc. But they can certainly make gains in a physical department.
Yeah.
Let's go in the off season here. Let's go on a really, really fucking high performance S&C program. Let's make sure that we're gaining here from a conditioning point of view, because conditioning for me at the top level now the gap is closed now. A lot of teams are at a very, very similar level physically, and
The difference, Stevie, as you'll appreciate from, we'll say, I first entered an inter-county setup in 2010. I'm not messing when I say the S&C was literally thrown together. You were given a program. I was lucky enough to be involved with one of my friends was a sports scientist in UL, and he obviously showed me the way. But in
yeah,
terms of, I couldn't get over the haphazard, and that was obviously not just Mayo. That's every county. But in the space of 13 years. You're gone from one extreme to the next. Like they've really, even I would say probably 2015, 16, that's when things really ratcheted up in terms of the S&C, in terms of teams really going after it. Yeah, look, there is massive gains there. Roscommon, look, the teams you're talking there, obviously a smaller pool of players, smaller populations, Monaghan, Roscommon,
absolutely,
um, they're,
absolutely. And I think
they
credit, and we're not patronising these kind of, but they
no, no,
deserve a
no,
huge
no.
credit, because
Oh,
I think what Monaghan are doing, what Roscommon are doing, they are maximising their resources in a very, very good manner. And
yeah.
we've listened to the show. I don't want to sound repetitive. Like, there is other counties that need to step up and really take a look at that, and say, look, we probably could be doing more and should be doing more,
But
and
But is all right? Is that a county board thing? Is that who the structures? Who's that decision, Stevie?
well, I would say a large part of your county board, or sorry, not your county board, but your county development is obviously made up of a number of things. It's made up, obviously, of a games and development manager, a GDM, okay, who is in charge of the games and development within the county. That is your development squad, your coach, and your coach education. Because coach education can't be underestimated either. And if you've got development squad coaches who are well educated, who are upskilling on a regular basis,
Yeah,
that's going to feed back into your younger players. But if you've got development squad coaches who aren't at that level, then
yeah.
all of a sudden your minor teams aren't really competing. You'll get the odd under 20 team come through, and maybe, can catch an old wave, and you'll surf on the wave for a year or two, but there's no longevity in it.
No,
Derry, to be fair, have got their house in order. Like, Derry have been in a phenomenal amount of minor. Like, Derry won the minor championship here in Ulster, right, a few weeks back. They beat Monaghan and penalties or last weekend. Like, I think that's 8 or 9 Ulster titles in the last 12 years or something there, and their school structure as well, the likes of St. Pat's Mahara, St.
Yeah.
Mary's Mahara. These schools are flying. These schools now have S&C coaches in them. These schools now have full-time members of staff, PE staff, whose sole responsibility nearly is the development and promotion of Gaelic games within the school. That's how serious they are taking their Gaelic football at schools level. And that's the whole thing. And there's probably what I would call nearly a whole pathway to senior football for a young person. It is, for example, your schools, your clubs, and development. And the three are obviously hugely important for the development of any young player. And development. And this is the argument when we talk about the go games and the competitive nature and some of the shite you listen to over the last few weeks. So, it's the parents, it's the coaches. I think people are missing the point. The whole emphasis is not about winning, it's about development. And that is the whole key thing. It's about development. And development should be at the forefront and should be at the front of every single age group right up until minor level. Development, development, development. What are you trying to do in a club from under 12 to under 16? Develop and grow your players so that they're playing senior football for their club. What are you trying to do in a county? At a development squad level, develop and grow your players. And that is the key thing for me, and that is a massive, massive thing that is being lost in all this over the last few weeks, is that development should be at the forefront of everything.
Ego, Stevie. Ego comes into it though, man. Human nature. You know yourself. Underage coaches and parents on the sidelines. The emotions take over, and they just can't help themselves.
I see it in school, Enda, right? And this is the problem. Coaches and parents can't be trusted. I wrote an article a couple of years ago, right, and I called it "The Power of the Parents." And what it was about was I was playing. Right, I was playing. It was an over 35s tournament for a lovely lad that passed away with cancer. A good friend of my family's actually a fella called Morris Fern. Morris was a Ballyholland club man, and Morris was an iconic guy around the place. A really, really a top fella. He would have drove a scooter. His fashion, he'd have way ahead of the fashion times and stuff. But we ran at what was called the Mo Fern Memorial Tournament up in Ballyholland. It was for over 35 players. And what amazed me at the day was the enjoyment that we got, the crack that we got. There was nobody on the sideline roaring and shouting. It was your children that were watching you. Your children were watching you and cheering and laughing and joking. Your wives, your girlfriends, they were watching as well. There was nobody trying to coach you. There was nobody trying to shout at you. There was nobody, and it was crack and it was banter and it was fun and everybody went home and there was a few pints.
But you've been put out to pasture. That's the difference, Stevie. There's no you're gone. You're gone. There's no potential in you, lads.
This is the thing I'm going to say to you. So a couple of weeks ago, I went to watch one of the wee tournaments that was on in Mayo Bridge, and it was the Gaelic for Mothers and Others, right? And they all met up and they all warmed up together. They had music, they had a bit of fun. They all played the game. There was great crack, there was great camaraderie, right? And they enjoyed it, right? The following week, I'm not naming you what club, I happened to be out watching the child playing an under-14 match, but there was an under-9 blitz on. And the intensity and the aggression and the scuffles along the line, the roaring and shouting, it was on a scale that I had never witnessed before. And I was actually standing going, mother of God, this is astonishingly. And I think people forget that. Like you look at Spain, right? There's no competitive football, full side, 11-a-side competitive football. They're nearly 15. They're the most technically gifted footballers in the planet, right? England are playing 11-a-side games at under 10, under 11, and there's parents getting stabbed on the sidelines. That's the truth. There was a parent stabbed in Leicester a number of years ago on the sideline, stabbed to death at an under 10 game. And this is the problem we have. You cannot trust parents and coaches. That's the bottom line, And like a young lad's coming to school to me and saying, I'm not allowed to play for the school today because my club coach said to rest. And I'm going, what? Like, just not allowed to play a match, because my club coach says we'll train hard. And as you say, completely carried away,
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to get onto that topic now because I'm going to blow a gasket there now, Stevie. To be honest with you, look.